My wife hid her past. Then her secret family arrived at our doorstep. Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. It was a Saturday morning like any other. I was making coffee, humming to myself, when I heard a knock at the door. At first, I thought it was a delivery, but when I opened it, I froze. 3 strangers stood on my porch. An older woman with cold, piercing eyes, a man about my age with the same jawline as my wife, and a teenage girl who looked so much like her that my stomach twisted. The older woman stepped forward without hesitation. "Is Anna home?" she asked, her voice sharp, almost rehearsed. My wife, my Anna, was upstairs, still asleep. I blinked, confused. "I'm sorry, who are you?" The man beside her smirked. "We're her family. Her real family." The words hit me like a hammer. My throat tightened. I knew Anna didn't talk much about her past. She'd always brushed off questions about her childhood, her relatives, or even where she grew up. "It's complicated," she'd say, before changing the subject. I thought it was just painful memories. Trauma she wanted to leave behind. But now these strangers were standing at my door, claiming to be family. The teenage girl tilted her head, studying me with the same deep brown eyes as Anna. "You must be her husband," she said softly. I stepped back, heart pounding. None of this made sense. If this were true, why hadn't Anna told me? Why had she insisted her parents were long gone, that she had no siblings, no one left in the world but me? Before I could answer, I heard footsteps on the stairs. Anna's voice, groggy but annoyed. "Who's at the door, babe?" And then she saw them. Her face drained of color instantly. The mug in her hand slipped and shattered on the floor. She didn't even flinch at the sound. Her eyes darted from the older woman, to the man, to the girl, and then to me. The silence that followed was suffocating. My wife's lips trembled, and for the first time since I'd known her, I saw fear. Not the kind you get from a bad dream or a scary movie. Real, bone-deep fear. The older woman's expression twisted into something between triumph and rage. "Anna," she hissed, "did you really think you could erase us forever?" My world tilted. Everything I thought I knew about my wife was unraveling. And then Anna whispered, barely audible, "Please, don't let them in. Don't let them in." Her words echoed in my chest, louder than the sound of my own heartbeat. My wife, my partner, the woman I thought I knew inside and out, was standing there like a ghost cornered by her past. I turned back to the strangers. The older woman crossed her arms, her expression sharp and unyielding. The man smirked again, clearly enjoying the chaos unraveling in my doorway. The girl's eyes, though, were wide with something else, hurt. "What the hell is going on, Anna?" I demanded. My voice cracked, anger mixing with confusion. Anna shook her head quickly, almost violently. "They don't belong here. They're not. They're not who they say they are." The older woman snapped. "Don't play games with us. We raised you. We fed you. You ran off, changed your name, built a shiny new life, and pretended we never existed." The words stabbed through me. "Raised you? Changed your name?" My mind raced. Anna had told me she lost her parents in a car accident when she was a teenager. She'd claimed she grew up in foster care, alone in the world. That story had been her explanation for why she avoided talking about her past, why she never invited anyone from back home. I wanted to defend her. I wanted to believe her. But the tremor in her hands, the way her eyes darted to the floor, told me there was something real behind these strangers' accusations. "Anna," I said slowly, barely controlling my voice, "what are they talking about? Did you lie to me about everything?" She reached for me, her fingers trembling as they brushed mine. "I can explain. Just, please, trust me. Not here. Not now." But the older woman wasn't finished. She stepped forward, her tone laced with venom. "You can hide behind your lies, Anna, but you can't erase blood. He deserves to know who he married." Anna flinched. I stared at her, a sick weight growing in my stomach. For the first time in years of marriage, I wasn't sure if I even knew the person standing in front of me. And then the teenage girl whispered, so quietly I almost missed it, "Mom, please stop." The air in the room froze. My head snapped toward her. "Mom." Anna's face crumbled like shattered glass. The word mom slammed into me like a truck. I blinked at the girl, at her trembling lips and wide eyes, then back at Anna. My throat tightened. Did she just? I couldn't even finish the sentence. My pulse was pounding in my ears. Anna's knees buckled, and she gripped the doorframe like it was the only thing holding her upright. "It's not what you think," she whispered, but her voice was hollow, shaky. The older woman's eyes gleamed with satisfaction. "Go on, Anna. Tell him. Tell your husband about the daughter you left behind." I staggered backward, feeling like the floor had been ripped out beneath me. "Daughter?" I choked. You have a daughter?" Anna's face contorted with anguish. She turned toward me, reaching out like she could still salvage what was left of my trust. "Please, let me explain. I was young. I was trapped in a life I never wanted. They forced me into things I couldn't escape. I had no choice." "Had no choice?" I snapped, my voice rising. "You had no choice but to hide an entire child from me? To lie every single day we've been together?" The teenage girl, her daughter, my wife's daughter, looked down, tears filling her eyes. She hugged herself tightly, like she didn't belong anywhere. The man with the smirk finally spoke, his voice low and sharp. "She abandoned us. Abandoned her own blood to play house with you. But now she can't run anymore." I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. My entire marriage, the trust, the love, the intimacy, suddenly felt like a cruel illusion. I'd built a life with a stranger. Anna tried again, her voice cracking. "I was protecting you. Protecting us. You don't understand what they're capable of." "Protecting me?" I hissed. "Or protecting yourself?" Before she could answer, the girl suddenly blurted out, "I didn't want to come here. I didn't even know you existed until last month." The room fell silent. My blood ran cold. If she only learned about me last month, then someone else had set this whole nightmare in motion. But who? And why now? The silence after the girl's confession was unbearable. My stomach churned, every nerve screaming that my life was collapsing in real time. "Last month," I repeated, my voice hoarse. I turned to Anna, my wife, my supposed partner. "So it wasn't even you who told her? Who told them? Who decided to show up at my house and rip my life apart?" Anna's eyes darted between me and the trio standing in the doorway. She looked cornered, trapped. "I don't know," she muttered, but her tone betrayed her. She was lying again. The older woman scoffed. "Don't act so innocent, Anna. You knew this day would come. You thought you could erase us, but the truth always rots its way to the surface." I slammed my fist against the wall, startling everyone. "Enough. Someone tell me what the hell is going on before I lose my mind." The girl, trembling, spoke first. "I got a letter. No return address. It said you existed, that you were my stepfather now. It gave me this address. That's why we came." A letter. Anonymous. Someone in the shadows had set this in motion. Someone wanted her past dragged into the light, wanted me blindsided. I turned back to Anna. She was pale, her lips pressed so tight they were bloodless. Finally, she whispered, "It wasn't supposed to happen like this. I thought I had time. I thought I could protect you. Protect me. Always protecting me. Yet here I stood, betrayed, humiliated in my own home. Protect me from what?" I demanded. Anna swallowed hard, her eyes glassy. "From the people I used to belong to. From the life I tried to escape." The older woman's face twisted in anger. "Escape? You think you can just walk away from family, from blood, from the debts you left behind?" Debts. The word hit like a knife. My wife didn't just leave a family behind. She left obligations, chains, maybe even danger. I stared at her, my chest tight. "What did you do, Anna?" She opened her mouth to speak, but before she could, the man in the doorway stepped forward, his smile cold and sharp. "She didn't tell you about the money, did she?" His words sliced through the air like broken glass. "The money," I repeated, staring at him. My pulse quickened, my palms damp. He nodded slowly, as if savoring my confusion. "Oh, she didn't tell you?" "Of course she didn't. Your lovely wife isn't just hiding a family. She's hiding the mess she left behind. A mess worth more than you can imagine." Anna flinched. "Stop it," she whispered, her voice trembling. "This isn't your business anymore." "Not my business," he sneered. "You think you can vanish, reinvent yourself, and the slate magically clears? You left us to deal with everything. And now," his eyes flicked to me, "now it's his problem too." My chest tightened as I looked at my wife. "Anna, what the hell are they talking about?" Tears brimmed in her eyes, but she shook her head. "It's not like that. I owed people money. A lot of money. Before I met you, before any of this. I thought I could outrun it." "You thought?" My voice cracked. "So you lied to me. built a marriage on secrets, and now you're dragging me into it? The older woman let out a bitter laugh. Welcome to the family, son-in-law. Or should I say, welcome to the wreckage. The man leaned closer, his smirk turning menacing. Here's the deal. You either help us clean this up, or you'll find out just how dangerous these debts really are. People don't forget, and they don't forgive. My mind spun. Betrayal, humiliation, fear, it all tangled into one unbearable knot. I thought I knew my wife, the woman I shared a bed with every night. But now strangers stood in my home, hinting at shadows I never even knew existed. I stared at Anna, desperate for a sign, something that would prove I hadn't been living a lie. But all I saw was guilt etched deep into her face. And then the man pulled something from his coat pocket, a folded piece of paper, yellowed and crumpled. He dropped it on the table between us. Here's proof, he said, and it's only the beginning. The room seemed to shrink around us as the paper lay between us like a live grenade. My pulse hammered in my ears, my throat dry as I reached for it. The man leaned back, arms crossed, a smug look carved across his face. Anna shifted in her seat, wringing her hands, her eyes darting everywhere except at me. I unfolded the paper. My hands trembled as I scanned the faded text, rows of numbers, names, dates. At the bottom, one figure jumped out at me like a flashing siren, $250,000. It was a debt agreement. Anna's name was scrawled in jagged ink, right beside a signature I didn't recognize. My stomach dropped. 250,000? My voice cracked. Anna, is this real? Her lips parted, but no sound came. Finally, she whispered, I was desperate. Years ago, my family, we were drowning. I thought I could fix it, but you didn't fix it, the man interrupted, his grin wide and venomous. You ran. You left us all to deal with the fallout. And now the sharks are circling again. Guess what? They don't care that you've got a nice little suburban life now. They want their money. With interest. I felt like the ground had vanished under my feet. My wife, the woman I built a life with, trusted with my future, was a stranger. I thought back to all the times she had dodged questions about her past, the nervous smiles, the sudden mood shifts. The signs had been there. I just didn't want to see them. I slammed the paper down. So what now? You're just here to dump this on me? Threaten us? The older woman stepped forward, her face twisted with both anger and something else, fear. You don't understand. This isn't just about money. It's about survival. If she doesn't pay, they'll come after all of us. The man smirked and leaned close, lowering his voice to a growl. And trust me, you don't want to find out what they'll do when they realize where she's been hiding. Anna's face went pale as a sheet, and for the first time since they arrived, I saw it clearly. Terror. The air in the living room felt heavy, like the walls were closing in. I clutched the paper, my mind spinning as Anna sat rigid, staring at the floor like a child caught in a lie too big to explain. Anna, I said, my voice breaking, what the hell is going on? $250,000? Who are these people really? The man chuckled darkly. We're the ones who cleaned up her mess. She doesn't tell you about that, huh? About how she left us buried under debts she promised to pay back. Anna shook her head violently. That's not true. You know that's not how it happened. Then explain. I snapped, anger bubbling up inside me. Right now? Because if you don't, I swear, I don't even know if I can look at you anymore. Her lips trembled as she whispered. It started before I met you. My father, he owed money. A lot of it. To people you don't want to cross. When he died, they came after me, said I had to make it right. I tried to work it off, but every time I paid something, the number grew. I couldn't escape. And then, she swallowed hard. I ran. The older woman stepped forward, her voice sharp as glass. She didn't just run. She vanished. Left us to deal with the wolves at the door. They took everything. Our house, our security. And now, they're still circling. And guess who they've just discovered is alive and well, living a perfect little life with you? My stomach churned. Every word out of their mouths pulled me deeper into a nightmare I couldn't wake from. So what? I said bitterly. You come here, dump this debt in my lap, and expect me to what? Just write a check? The man leaned in close, his voice low and venomous. It's not about writing a check. It's about protection. Because the people coming, they don't negotiate. They take. And they'll start with her. Maybe with you too. Anna's hand found mine, icy cold. Please, she whispered. You have to believe me. I didn't tell you because I thought I left it behind. I thought it was over. But the way the strangers looked at us told me one thing for sure. This was far from over. And then the man pulled something else from his jacket. An envelope, thick and ominous, and slid it across the table toward me. Open it, he said with a smirk. Then you'll see how deep this really goes. My fingers shook as I slid the thick envelope toward me. The weight of it felt unnatural, as if it carried something more than paper, like a curse wrapped in cream stationery. Anna's breath quickened. Don't, she whispered, clutching my arm. But I had to. I had to know what kind of nightmare I was being dragged into. I tore it open, spilling the contents onto the table. Photographs. Dozens of them. Anna, 10 years younger, hair darker, face harder, dressed in clothes I'd never seen her wear. Standing beside men who looked like shadows in human form. Some were at bars, others near black cars, some with wads of cash on the table. And then came the documents. Contracts. IOUs. Ledgers scrawled with her father's name and hers. Next to numbers so large they made my head spin. My chest tightened. What the hell is this? I demanded. The man smiled with cruel satisfaction. Proof. Proof she's not who she says she is. Proof she belongs to us. Anna slammed her hands on the table, eyes blazing with tears. Those were forged. You know they were. You used me as leverage. You always did. I never owed that money. It was my father's. And you made sure I could never escape it. The woman leaned closer, her voice dripping with venom. Does it matter? They don't care whose debt it was. They want it paid. And they'll come for you both until it is. My stomach dropped as realization dawned. They weren't here just to shame Anna. They were here to tie me into this web. To make me responsible. I don't want any part of this. I snapped, shoving the photos back. But the man's smile widened, like a hunter who knows his prey is trapped. You already are, he said smoothly. Because now you know. And they know you know. That makes you a liability. Anna's hand gripped mine under the table, trembling. For the first time, I saw real fear in her eyes. Not for herself, but for me. And then the woman delivered the final blow. We'll give you 1 week. Either you pay, or we let them knock on your door instead. The house felt different after they left, like their presence had seeped into the walls, poisoning the air. Every creak of the floorboards made me jump. Every shadow felt like it was hiding someone watching us. Anna sat at the kitchen table, head in her hands. I stood across from her, pacing, the echo of their threat replaying in my head. 1 week. 1 week, or they come for me. You knew this was coming. I finally said, my voice breaking from both fury and exhaustion. Didn't you? You've been hiding this since the day we met. Her head snapped up, eyes bloodshot. I didn't want this life, Mark. I didn't want any of it. I thought if I ran far enough, started over, I thought I could leave it behind. Leave it behind? By marrying me and dragging me into it? My fists clenched. You should have told me the truth before they showed up at our door. Tears streamed down her cheeks, but I couldn't let myself soften. Not now. Not when we were staring down threats that could ruin us. Or worse. I grabbed the envelope again, spreading the photos and papers across the table. Who are these people? Who are they? Her silence said more than words ever could. Finally, she whispered, they're connected. Dangerous. My father borrowed money he couldn't repay, and when he died, they decided the debt was mine. I stared at her, stunned. So what now? They expect me to pay for your father's mistakes? She shook her head, desperation thick in her voice. No, they won't stop at money. They'll use us until there's nothing left. Unless, she hesitated, biting her lip. Unless what? I pressed. Anna's gaze flickered toward the door, then back to me. For the first time, I saw something that chilled me deeper than the threats. Resolve. Unless we run again. The room spun. My whole life, my job, my friends, everything I built, flashed before me. Could I really throw it all away? Could I really vanish into nothing because of her past? And that's when the phone rang. Unknown number. Anna's face went pale. I reached for it, my heart hammering. The shrill ring of the phone cut through the silence like a knife. I froze, my hand hovering over it, my breath shallow. Anna whispered, "Don't answer." But I couldn't stop myself. I pressed the green button and held it to my ear. "Mark," a deep, gravelly voice said. "We know who you are. We know where you live. You have 7 days. Don't disappoint us." Click. The line went dead. My hand shook so violently I nearly dropped the phone. Anna's face drained of all color. "It started," she muttered, almost to herself. "They're already watching us." I slammed the phone on the table. "Enough with the secrets, Anna. If we're going to survive this, I need the truth. Every detail. No more lies." She looked at me with wide, terrified eyes, and then something inside her broke. She started talking, fast, desperate. She told me about the family she'd left behind, the deals her father had made with dangerous men, the promises broken. She admitted she had been running for years before we met, changing names, cutting ties, trying to stay invisible. And now her past had caught up with us. As the words spilled out, I felt my stomach twist tighter and tighter. Every memory of us together now seemed tainted. Our wedding day, the nights we stayed up talking about dreams and children, the quiet mornings with coffee, all of it, built on a foundation of lies. When she finally stopped, her voice was raw, and her hands trembled as if she expected me to walk away right then. But I didn't. Not because I forgave her, not because I understood, but because fear had replaced everything else. I leaned forward, my voice low but firm. "If we only have 7 days, we need a plan. And if you hold anything else back from me, Anna, it won't be them you should be afraid of, it'll be me." Her lips parted to respond, but before she could, there was a loud crash outside, like someone knocking over a trash can. We both froze. Someone was out there. The sound outside was sharp, deliberate, not the careless stumble of a neighbor, not the rustle of wind. My instincts screamed that someone was there, watching. Anna clutched my arm, her nails digging into my skin. "Don't go out there," she whispered. Her eyes were wide, wild, as if she knew exactly who was standing in the shadows. But I couldn't just sit there and wait. I grabbed the heavy flashlight by the door and stepped outside, my breath fogging in the cold night air. The street was silent, the glow of the lamppost casting long shadows. I scanned the driveway. At first, nothing. Then I saw it. Across the street, under the dim light, a car idled. The headlights were off, but I could see the faint red glow of brake lights. A silhouette sat behind the wheel, still, watching. My grip tightened around the flashlight. I took one step forward, and immediately the car roared to life, tires screeching against the pavement. Within seconds, it vanished into the night. When I walked back inside, Anna looked like she was about to collapse. Her hands trembled violently as she whispered, "They found us." I slammed the door shut and locked it, my heart pounding so loud I could barely think. "Anna," I hissed, "who exactly are they? Who did your family make enemies with? And why are they coming after us now?" Her lips trembled as she tried to answer, but before she could, the phone buzzed again. A message flashed across the screen. 7 days. Don't test us." My stomach dropped. This wasn't just a warning. It was a countdown. When Anna finally spoke, her voice was so low I had to lean in to hear. "My father, he owed money. Not the kind of debt you can pay back with checks or loans. It was to people you don't cross." I froze. "What kind of people?" She shook her head. "The kind who never forget. The kind who use fear as currency. My family thought they had escaped, but debts like that, they live longer than bloodlines." Her words sank into me like ice water. I wanted to scream, to demand why she had dragged me into this without a word. But before I could, she pulled a small, dust-covered lockbox from under the couch. Inside were letters, photographs, and contracts written in another language. Names, dates, transactions, and stamped across one paper in red ink was a single word, paid. Except the date wasn't her father's era. It was recent. Too recent. I looked at her sharply. "Anna, this wasn't just your father. Someone else in your family is still making these deals, aren't they?" Her face crumbled. She whispered, almost inaudibly, "My brother." The pieces clicked into place so violently it made me dizzy. The strange man at the door. The threats. The surveillance. This wasn't about history. This was about an active chain of promises, betrayals, and blood money. And if her brother was still involved, then the people outside weren't just looking for repayment. They were looking for leverage. And they had found it, us. Just then, my phone rang. Unknown number. I picked it up, breath tight in my chest. A calm male voice spoke. "You're holding what belongs to us. And if you don't deliver in 7 days, you'll lose more than your marriage." The line went dead. The voice on the phone echoed in my skull long after the line went dead. I replayed those words again and again. "You'll lose more than your marriage." Anna clutched my arm, her face pale. What did they say? I hesitated. Saying it out loud would make it real. But she read the answer in my eyes anyway. Her lips trembled, and she whispered, "They'll come for you too." The weight of it crashed down on me. I wasn't just a husband betrayed by secrets. I was now a pawn in a game I hadn't even known existed. We spent the night combing through the papers from the lockbox. Each document pointed to her brother, Victor. He wasn't just tangled in her father's old debts. He had revived them, cutting new deals, selling pieces of his soul to keep the empire going. And now those people wanted collateral. Me. At dawn, I made a decision. I wouldn't be dragged into this blindly. If they wanted to threaten me, I'd look them in the eyes first. I needed to find Victor. But Anna grabbed my hand before I could storm out. "You don't understand. They don't play by rules. You go looking for him, and they'll bury you before you even ask your first question." Her warning rattled me, but anger burned hotter. "Then tell me where he is. Because if I don't face him now, they'll be at our door again, this time with more than threats." Anna hesitated, then scribbled an address on a slip of paper. An industrial part of town. The kind of place where sunlight never seemed to reach. I slipped the paper into my pocket, kissed her forehead, and whispered, "Lock the doors. Don't let anyone in." But as I walked out, I couldn't shake the feeling I was already too late. When I pulled up to the address, the warehouse loomed dark and silent. I stepped inside, my footsteps echoing on the cold concrete. And then I saw him. Victor, leaning against a pillar, smiling like he had been waiting for me. "I was wondering when you'd show up, brother-in-law," he said. His voice dripped with arrogance, like he was the one in control, like I had walked into his trap. My fists clenched at my sides, but I forced myself to stay calm. "Why drag me into this?" I asked, my words echoing in the hollow warehouse. "This has nothing to do with me." Victor smirked and stepped closer, his shoes clicking on the concrete floor. "Oh, it has everything to do with you. You married Anna, which means you inherited her father's debts too, whether you knew it or not." My stomach tightened. "Debts? This is about money?" He laughed, sharp and cold. "It's always about money." That's when he pulled out a folder from the table behind him and tossed it at my feet. Papers scattered, contracts, signatures, bank transfers. And there it was, my name, forged onto agreements I'd never seen before. "You see," Victor said, circling me like a predator. "To our friends, you already owe them. Which means when they come knocking, they won't be asking me questions. They'll be asking you." Rage shot through me. "You signed my name? You dragged me into this mess without even..." He cut me off, leaning in close enough that I could smell the cigarette smoke clinging to his jacket. "Careful, brother-in-law. You think you're angry now? Wait until they decide you're worth more dead than alive." My blood turned to ice. He was right. I was trapped. If the people backing him thought I was involved, they'd come for me. Maybe even for Anna. But then he added one more thing, his eyes gleaming with something darker than greed. "Unless, of course, you're willing to play along. Help me finish what her father started. Do that, and maybe, you'll walk away with your precious wife still safe." He wasn't just pulling me into his chaos. He was daring me to join it. And in that moment, I realized the truth. Victor wasn't just dangerous. He enjoyed this. I stood there, surrounded by scattered papers, with Victor's smug grin burning into me like acid. He thought he'd cornered me, thought I'd fold, just like Anna's father must have. But something inside me snapped. I wasn't going to let this man define my life, or use Anna as leverage. Not anymore. I bent down, gathered the forged contracts, and shoved them back onto the table. "You think you've trapped me? You think I'll play your game?" I said, my voice shaking, but not from fear. From rage. Victor leaned back, arms crossed. "If you don't, you'll lose everything." I met his gaze. "No, Victor. If I do, I've already lost everything." For the first time, I saw a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. Maybe he realized I wasn't bluffing. Maybe he realized I was willing to risk it all to protect Anna, to burn his whole scheme to the ground if it meant he couldn't use me. I turned to leave, but stopped at the door. "One more thing," I said. "I've already made copies of everything. The signatures, the transfers, all of it. You think you're holding the cards? Wait until the authorities see what you've been up to." His smile vanished. For the first time, Victor looked afraid. I walked out into the night, my heart pounding, the warehouse lights fading behind me. I didn't know what would come next, whether the threats he warned about were real, whether Anna could ever forgive me for digging this deep into her past. But one thing was certain, I wasn't a pawn anymore. And if Victor, or anyone else from her so-called secret family, came knocking again, I'd be ready.